My first oscillator was a sine square wave. You could switch it between sine and square, and it, you know, it went, woo. What would happen in terms of social evolution when everybody had their hands on something and didn't have a musical background? I wanted to place myself in that future world that I didn't think I'd live to see. But I am alive, and I am beginning to see it.
The interface wiring here is it's just gorgeous. It's just unbelievable. We love analog. We've grown up on analog. We use analog rules. There's something about it that resonates within the brain, and it says, I like it.
You have the portamento up a little way, hit a low note, and it slides down, and the filter just swells. Like, nothing duplicates that.
I think it's the false nostalgia. You couldn't keep them in tune. Every time you were going to do a live performance, it'd take you an hour and a half to tune it, and then if someone turned on air conditioning, everything went out.
The unexpected aspect very often of what happened in concerts was in itself sort of fun, if aggravating.
I'm not religious about analog. You can't get stuck in analog. But that said, I love analog. Look at this.
Pulse out, pulse in, VCF, VCA in. And it's tempting to explore these ins and outs.
I think it's also appealing to have like a system and have like your brother-in-law or something like come in and take a look at it and just be like, what the hell is this?
The modular analog synthesizers that you connect with patch cords are not necessarily very practical for performance when you're having to like jam the jacks in there and that kind of thing to get the sound. But on the other hand, they do have this really organic quality, this really immediate quality that's very appealing.
You're actually asking the machine to limit you and put you in a position where you have to work with its rules. That's going to give you a different result than if you used something that had presets or something that was in software.
The main appeal really to modulars is the user interface as much as anything. The sound is a component of it, but I think it's just the playability.
Music is a hands-on, humanistic expression. Doesn't require sitting in front of a screen all evening, because maybe you did all 8 hours of that already. I think that really appeals to people.
I want to step away from being locked inside a 19-inch or 23-inch cinema display. By means of patching alone, you can create your own sounds without having to, be force-fed the way you're going to do music. I started it as a hobby, and it was mostly a vintage scene, and there weren't many other people making modulars at that time except me, and I think Doper was just getting started.
I had never owned a Eurorack system before, but I decided to get into that because it seemed like the most popular and low cost. I had a prototype design that I'd made as a MIDI device in a little box, and I decided to sort of redo that and make it into my first module, which was the K4815 pattern generator.
I think it's important to find tools that speak through you and that inspire you and that are extensions of yourself, almost like breathing when you're operating them. This is almost a complete basic components of a synthesizer. I just have some space up here, and what's going to go in there next is a really delicious sounding synthicon filter, which I'm currently building and very excited about.
I'm glad to be able to make something that brings people joy and creativity.
I like the sort of artistic aspect of it as well. It's not just about the money. Obviously, I have to earn a living, but it's it really is a craft.
I became immediately drawn and obsessed.
I had a guy who had to buy a bigger house because he bought such a huge modular.
Well, you know, I definitely have more gear than I need.
And I'll be honest, I look at some of these wall of synths, and that's when I sort of feel this temptation. I think, wow, would it ever be cool to have a 9-foot tall, you know, never-ending rack? Does that ever look sexy?
Many people who buy them, I think, are buying them for the fetish sake rather than necessarily because they're great instruments.
Well, sometimes I build machines and I know that they're just going to sit in the corner.
If the modular market were limited to people who use them to make music, then there wouldn't be enough people buying them for people to make all this crazy stuff.
Well, there are much worse dangers than getting obsessed with collecting audio gear.
Well, I often say, you know, leave some money to buy your children some shoes.